from Carroll County, Ohio. I am the founder and CEO of an organization called SAVE22. SAVE22 is to raise awareness to the 22 veterans who commit suicide each day. Not only that, we are a community outreach for veterans. I've never done a Kiwanis Club meeting. I've never been to one. I'm happy to be around so many happy people. I was asked to do this when I closed on my house from Monica. My wife kind of said, well, he does public speaking. I'm like, shut up.
You're hired.
Because actually this is the first time I've spoke outside of my community of Carroll County. So you guys are my first for somebody out of Carroll County. I do a lot of Facebook videos, and so that's how I get my word spread. I have become sort of a public figure through Facebook and still don't know how to deal with a lot of that. But when I was asked to do this, she sent me a list of dates. And I look at these dates, and one stood out, which was today, November 10th. November 10th is, of course, the day before Veterans Day. So yeah, I want to get my word out about how we're going to help our veterans, or about what SAVE22 is before Veterans Day. But most importantly, 241 years ago, the Marine Corps was born in a tavern in Pennsylvania. So I'm going to give you a little history lesson. 10th of November, the Marine Corps was formed in Turn Tavern in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So this ties into SAVE22 in this way. You had a bunch, and hey, we have an idea. Let's fight. Let's force and protect this country that we have now. Well, up until last year, this time last year, exactly, I was just normal, proud Marine veteran, But last year I held a Marine Corps ball, and as I was sitting there, I'm gonna have this hike to raise awareness to the 22 veterans who commit suicide each day. Other Marines and just spouting off at the mouth. So the first thing I do is I call more Marines in. Hey, you guys gotta help me. We gotta put this hike on. From this hike, we did this within 4 months. It's supposed to go to 22 Kill, which is probably the biggest foundation you have for veteran suicides. Well, when we went to donate to 22 Kill, the guy Jimmy Mack told me to keep that money, that he wanted us to get set up so that they had something in our area. So here we are a year later, we just got our nonprofit status, working on this year's hike coming up, which will be May 6th. A lot of you might say, well, why 22? The number 22 seems like a lot of veterans in a year, or in a day. I got in an argument about that number quite a few times. Study and the best number that they could come up with was 22, and they weren't counting overdoses from opiates that were given from the VA. They didn't count everything. So the best guess they came up with was 22. And what that 22 equals out to is 1 in 4 veterans. So if you have a flag sitting here with you that I handed out here earlier, you guys would be 1 in that 4 if you were a veteran. And a lot of people go, well, if it's 1 in 4 veterans, how come I don't know a veteran that's committed suicide? And that's just something I kind of got into with the last few months, is I put out there, and I have gotten veteran stories in. And I've been starting to read those through Facebook so that these kids, these young men, these soldiers and Marines, these sailors, they get their story out there. I'm sort of taking on their stories. Well, last year, the very first one I read was of Sergeant Baker, local Marine. And at this time, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to read you his story. And if I tear up, I'm sorry, because sometimes it's kind of hard to read. Ryan Baker, and this is read through his mother, who wrote this story. Ryan Baker, January 4th, 1989, through August 6th, 2015. Until June 2001, Ryan grew up mainly in East Springfield and Amsterdam, Ohio. He played Little League Baseball, and he hung out with his friends like all kids. In 2001, he moved into San Antonio, Texas area, but returned several times a year to visit relatives and friends. After graduating high school in 2007, he tried to join the Marines without his parents' prior knowledge. Ryan proudly served his country in the Marine Corps from August 2007 through August 2011. He continued to serve While on active duty, he served tours of duty in Iraq, Afghanistan. Ryan's lifelong dream was to become a pediatric dentist, which he started pursuing from the time his active duty commitment expired. When he returned home, he had attended San Antonio College for 2.5 years. Throughout his life, Ryan was always the type of person that always wanted to help others. While still in high school, he volunteered at 2 local fire departments. Then as a volunteer firefighter once, he even volunteered while home from leave from the Marines. His heart was so big. He loved the elderly and the children. He would mow an elderly neighbor's lawn. He would mow an elderly neighbor's lawn and then sit and talk with her for hours. He would gather his nieces and nephews on the spur of the moment and take them to the park and then for ice cream. Numerous neighbors always sought after Ryan to babysit because he could be trusted and he loved the children. When Ryan returned home and began college, charities to include the Proof Project, Habitat for Humanity. He donated blood and plasma regularly. He began work at Southeastern Freight Lines, where he quickly became night supervisor. Unfortunately, when Ryan returned home from the Marines, he also brought home additional baggage in the form of PTSD. Nightmares increased in severity and frequency. He would thrash around, swinging his arms, kicking his legs violently. Ryan began living on Red Bull at night just to stay awake, to ward off the nightmares. Numerous family members and close friends spent countless hours talking with Ryan, trying to convince him to speak to counseling. Ryan constantly refused, feeling if he saw viewed negatively on his career, he was of discussion and would convince him otherwise. Finally, Ryan prescribed him Ambien. He tried Ambien for a few days. The medicine made him unable to wake up from the night terrors. 14, Ryan met the love of his life, Allie. Along with Allie's 6-year-old daughter, Elena. After the wedding, everybody was hopeful that the demons that haunted Ryan would be dismissed by the love and happiness he had found. However, the nightmares continued to increase and become more severe. The PTSD, adjustment to marriage life, financial setbacks, and other stressors began to escalate. Although he was coached by many to seek help, he always refused, wanting to fight his battles on his own terms. On August 5th, 2015, Ryan and Allie were asleep in bed. Together, they kept the same sleep schedule. Since Ryan worked nights, they could spend more time together during the early hours of that morning while in a deep sleep. He began kicking Allie in the ribs and putting his away, eventually waking Ryan. Ryan went to work that evening with a very heavy heart, consistently texting to repeatedly apologize. Around midnight on August 6th, he tried calling Allie while on a break. That she was hurt or possibly leaving him over what happened, Ryan left work and went home to check on Allie. Once at home, they both went for a walk, during which the discussion get help for his PTSD. Ryan told her he had all the help that he needed that night, right there. Tip where she felt. I lost my place. Allie pulled away from him and began crying and begging him not to do anything. She told them they had Atlanta to think about. Being that shot was going on in front of her, Allie closed her eyes, not knowing whether he was going to shoot her, himself, or both of them. She heard a loud snap, which she described as sound made when someone is snapping their heels, their shoes together in a military formation. She then heard a single gunshot. She opened her eyes and Ryan screamed, screaming to nearby apartments.